Welcome back to another episode on A to the show. Now, guys, before we get started, we do have to remind you, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share these episodes because when you do, they do, they support us a lot. They help us get out there and share this information with everyone, with our audience. So thank you again for your support and please continue doing so. Today we have a new guest with us. We have Gul Sonmez. Gul, thank you for joining us. Um, Gul is a transformational energy coach dedicated to helping you move past stress and trauma to create real change in your life. With 15 years of experience in multinational corporations like P&G, Coca-Cola, and Amazon, Gul's journey into self-healing began with a personal wake-up call, one that made her realize the deep connection between the mind and body. After years of exploring various healing and coaching modalities, she discovered the truth about transformation, and now she guides others in unlocking their own power to heal and break free from patterns of unworthiness and stagnation. And on a side note, Gul is with us um, while she's also 8 months pregnant. So that is that's amazing. We appreciate that she's spending the time. Well, at any point, it's like and life could just come out of her. But anyway, Gul, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, I hope not now. Not during the podcast.
We- That's
Yeah,
Let's
but
start.
something, that's something we don't, I don't think we can plan for if that does happen. That's not nothing that can be scripted. Um, Good. So to start off, we know that you started, so you used to work in a corporate life. You used to have this like kind of life where it's kind of set, structured, and everything was going well. But then you chose to leave it for some reason. Could you tell us more about that reason and why did you why did you leave?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me in the show. And I'm really, really happy to be here. And yeah, actually, it was a tough decision for me because I earn my own life, right? I pay my own mortgage and etc. So I have all the life expenses. And when you have all these life expenses, and when you're so
Hmm.
used to this monthly income,
mhm.
it is really stressing and it's really not easy to walk away. At least it was not easy for me. And on a side note, I really like the corporate life because most people who does this kind of work, they always say that they were fed up with corporate, they hated it, the big corporations. I didn't have these problems actually. I like my job. I like the companies that I work with. I still work with those companies as a mindfulness coach now from this angle. So I didn't also have this type of I'm fed up with it, but I was able to do both jobs. My company is set up in Luxembourg, and Luxembourg is a tiny country within Europe, for those who don't know. So I could do both at the same time. That time I was working at Amazon headquarters, and I changed my structure to part time. And I was also seeing my clients and working on this because those are very different topics than each other. But at
Yeah.
some point, I had so many things on my plate. I was working all day and all night and all the weekends. And we were newly married. And I say, okay, I cannot go on like that. I really, really need some time and space for myself. And I needed to pick one. And I said, let's try this one. If it doesn't work, I can always go back to corporate because for the first time, I was feeling aligned with what I do. I
Mhm.
always liked my
Hmm.
jobs, but I never had this feeling of kind of alignment, I would say, kind of feeling really good, really happy with what I do. And they always say, like, if you're looking for your purpose, always look what you do in your spare time when you're alone, when you don't need to do anything. I always read about these things. I watch these things. I always work on these things when I have my personal time. So I say, okay, this is your purpose. Go full time and let's see what happens. So it's been close to 4 years now that I'm just doing this business and it's going pretty well, actually.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the choice to leave also like the stable paycheck and go into something that's, your it's kind of your own creation, starting your own project all by yourself and maybe not necessarily knowing what you're doing. It's a tough one. It's a tough decision to make, you know. Um, how how did you like? kind of weigh those decisions?
Yeah.
Like, did you have like a chart in front of you? Did you put like pros and cons, or did you just kind of follow your instinct?
Yeah, so to be honest, first 6 months, like in the first year, I made a lot of mistakes because I really tried to do it with a really masculine approach, right? Okay, these
Yeah,
are the expenses. This is how much when I need to bring. This is how much I'm gonna grow. Blah blah, and it
yeah,
put a lot of pressure on me. The pressure I didn't have, because when I have the regular monthly salary, I was not caring how
yeah,
much do I make in this business, right? And the
Hmm.
money was flowing there. It was with ease. But when I put all the stress on the money needs to flow there rather than it's nice to have, I start to see a lot of resistance and I start to see decline. And always walk to walk, talk to talk. This is what I teach my clients. So I really took money as a kind form of abundance, and
yeah,
rather than putting in a structure of, I made more intuitive decisions rather than logical decisions, always a bit logical, so I didn't do
yeah,
anything so crazy, but I listened my intuition a bit more. Instead of looking for clients, I write client attraction meditations, where I really use my energy healing a bit more on this topic, and then the paths really start to open up. So one thing I
yeah,
noticed, when we want something so much, we are in
Hmm.
the need energy, right? Like, I need the money. It's a very repelling energy,
Hmm.
because and
yeah,
when you're in this energy, even you make the money, then you have a tax bill, then your car breaks down, because you're in this need energy. So I just turned it about a bit more. You know what? There's a lot of abundance in the world. If it's aligned for me, it's gonna come to me. But what can
Yeah.
I do? So it's always actions. Like, I never just pray and meditate. It's always combined with actions. But I can say a bit more soul aligned actions. Like, most of my actions, I literally sit, I ask my inner guidance, which way should I go? Then I journal about it. Then I take the
mhm,
action. Because when I tried the other one, which I'm trained and I've been working for 15 years in that principle, I really see
yeah.
a big stagnation in my both in my income, and it was very stressful.
I, something that I think a keyword that you mentioned is the that struck out for me was like is taking action. Because obviously, if you're just sitting there and people, so people talk about manifestation and just and having the thoughts, and like the law of attraction. These are all interesting theories and topics, but if they're not matched with action, nothing really happens. You do have to, at some point, do like you have to take action. You have to do something. Um, but but coupled with the idea of like having that mindset where you're not acting out of, let's call it maybe desperation. You're not acting out of desperation, and you're not acting out of just maybe fear of, oh, if I don't do this, then I won't be able to pay for my bills, or I won't be able to kind of like just continue with this project of mine. If you're coming with this mentality that, okay, I am a bit more relaxed, I know I know what I'm doing, um, then it might come easier to that person. But what about people who maybe don't have that comfort? They don't have the ability to think that way because they're just not in a safe financial space, or maybe they're not in a safe environment that they live in. How do they reach that stage
Yeah.
which you were talking about?
Yeah, it's a bit beautiful question. I love manifestation. I teach manifestation actually. And one of the
Mhm.
principle there is just, it's a combination of both kind of trusting and surrendering and desiring it with taking actions. So
Yeah,
you have to merge both of them. But when you just take actions from a place of to-do list, maybe they don't take you anywhere. And your questions were right, because it's really easy to preach when you have a coming income, or when you have maybe savings, maybe your family give you, maybe, I don't know, your partner is paying all the house expenses and you don't even have a mortgage to pay, right? So in those
yeah,
circumstances, obviously trusting the system is a bit more easier. But what you do when your back is in the wall, when you have a lot of payments coming in, when you really, really need this type of work. So this is what I always, and it's not human, to be honest. We're never in that state by ourselves. Like when everything is against us, when the
Yeah.
days are, let's say, dark or rainy, we're not, tomorrow there will be sun. So it's something we cultivate. There are many
Mhm.
tools that you can use to cultivate that. How can you cultivate a bit hope, the leap of faith? How can you cultivate trusting your abilities and trust in the system? This is what I like to do because I have huge faith. I'm a believer. Whatever the belief system you believe, you can call it God, universe, intelligence, Allah, whatever you believe. I think to cultivate a kind of meditation or prayer where you know that you're not alone, so you know that, but day in, day out with a practice, maybe 5 minutes to 10 minutes, you
Mhm.
really cultivate that feeling of, okay, I trust, but what can I do on my side? And there are many different tools. One is prayers, one is meditation. There are very good guided journaling questions that you can write daily basis in order to let go of the stress. Because the more it's like a cycle, right? The more you stress about it not happening, the more it doesn't happen. This is what law of attraction is. You need to break this cycle. You need to believe that it's in your potential that's going to come to you when you do the parts that you need to do. So there are so many tools we use in order to break this cycle. And to be honest, I use them almost on a daily basis because what people misunderstand about, I think, manifestation is just
Mhm.
you want something and your universe gives it to you. Like, I wish. I wish. Maybe it's easy for a parking spot, but it's a whole process, right? It's a whole process. First of all, you need to really check if it's something that you desire, because sometimes we want things that we should want.
Yeah.
So, for example, right now I'm pregnant, but my journey started. I was infertile actually. I
Hmm.
just learned one day that I cannot have children. And I was devastating, it was 2 years ago. And my first reaction was, I need to have children. So, because in my age, in my culture, okay, you need to have a children, right? You need to have your kids. So I started everything with that type of energy. And for 1 year, I used all the medicine, go to top doctors and everything, and it failed and failed and failed. Then I realized I took a break. The biggest mistake I did, it was not from a place. Do I really want children? Like in this lifetime, do I really want it? It's a huge responsibility. It's a life-changing experience. Then I need to pause and really check on this feeling of desire. Do I really desire this? Or I'm just doing it because I need? And it's the same when you build your business. Maybe you want to do Instagram reels because everybody tells you it's cool, but you hate doing reels, right? You don't want to dance. You don't want to
Yeah.
do these things. And when you do it, you're doing it with such energy, such a low place. And
Yeah.
obviously nobody watches them because to begin with, you don't want them. So I think the first part of manifestation is to really find the desire. So, because your desire can bring you back to this fate, that because you want it so much rather than what you need to do. And to be in my culture, at least, like you need to go to the good schools, right? You need to get married. There are a
Yeah.
set of things that you need to do, not because you want to do. Maybe you want to do something totally different. So we are a bit wired to do the things that our parents want from us or the
Uh-huh.
society. And we kind of look at those things when we're close to almost our 30s or 40s. So this is why I always say start with the desire, then cultivate the strength that it's going to be okay if you do your part, because this is where most people, manifestation is just we pray. We need to do our part.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
think that it's going to rain, you need to get ready for the rain, right? You need to buy an umbrella. So it's like that. And then then you put the masculine aspects of it because you need to have processes. So I see it
Mhm.
like a combination of both. So it was a very long answer, but I hope
Uh-huh.
Um,
manifestation is a topic that I really, really care.
Ali, did you have a comment?
Yeah, my comment a bit on that is that I think in general our society is a bit cursed by wanting too many knickknacks, too many things that you don't need, and desire becomes a bit of a poison. You know, it's different to desire, I don't know, self development or something good for your future or family or stuff like that, but to desire Um, I don't know, just like objects, or the next a yacht or a fancy car or something like that. um, I think there's too much of that, and people don't just enjoy what they have enough. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can also desire a car as long as it's your desire. I think it's good. If you really desire a car, then you can really, because in manifestation we also do. You need to train your mind, like
Hmm.
rewire your mind that you can have it. And our mind is amazing. Like, for example, right now when I tell you that I cut a lemon, I
Hmm.
squeeze the lemon and it's so juicy, and I'm eating the lemon, like my saliva. It starts actually, but there's no lemon right now, right? There's no lemon in this setting.
Hmm.
So our brain, and the studies shows us, cannot really differentiate a thought from real or not. So
Hmm.
when we constantly put this thought in our brain, this is why, in manifestation, you do vision boards, you use affirmations, you keep saying the same mantra over and over again, so that your brain, or you do meditations where you see yourself achieving that. And so your brain understand that it's in your capacity and start to work towards it. So if it's the car you want, you're gonna get this car from different ways. But what is really important, if to check really if it's the car, to check really if you want to build your business that way, to check really if you really want that promotion, because maybe you want to move to, I don't know, Greek islands and start your
Yeah.
own coffee shop instead of a promotion. So
Hmm.
you're, pushing and pushing and pushing, and the universe doesn't give you. Then you're questioning, that manifestation doesn't work. It actually works. It's a very solid process. But I always say, always start with the desire. If it's something that you really want in your heart of heart, otherwise, really, it's too much work to do manifestation.
Can you tell us a bit about the mind body connection too?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
This is my favorite area, because I started my journey when I had physical problems. I
Hmm.
really, really could not move my hand. I need to have a surgery from here, and I'm right-handed, and I didn't want to have a surgery from right hand because they couldn't find anything in my MRI, but I couldn't move my hand, so my hand was literally blocked. So 2 months it was in a cast, and they sent me to physiotherapy. Then they come off it. Okay, we're just gonna open it up. And I'm right-handed, and I, for the first time, my left brain, which I'm used to operate, did not make any sense. And I go, why are you opening my hand? Like, what is the outcome? Like, what do you see in the MRI? There is nothing. So that time, actually, I was into finding alternative solutions. That time, actually, I find someone. She was the first person who tell me, you're so stuck. Your body, like your right hand, is stuck.
Mhm.
Where are you stuck in your life? Let's start with that. I never had that hand surgery, by the way, thanks God. I just needed to look at what was stuck in my mind. Then, any problem I have with my health, even with the fertility issue, I always check the body mind connection, because all these stock emotions, we carry them on our body actually. Your body never lies. I
Yeah.
always say, of course, go to your doctor. I also go to my doctors, and I'm grateful to them. But on the way, there are other things that you can do with your mind as well. And we can really train our mind. And there are amazing studies, especially in US. I live where you are. Amazing studies about it, especially on the athletes.
Hmm.
Thanks to the big leagues. I work with a national athlete as well, and I read a lot of those studies. And what the studies shows us, the athletes who are just performing the game in their mind,
Hmm.
okay, of course they are doing everything as well, so it's not just, again, they're sitting and meditating. They're obviously doing mind, body, and soul together, but
Yeah.
before the game, when they sit and meditate, when they keep thinking that they're either throwing the ball or they're scoring the ball, whatever the sports they're doing in their mind, they perform better. It's amazing. It's
Hmm.
amazing because their subconscious mind is preparing them to perform better at the moment. And because our mind, really, when you put the thought in your mind,
Yeah.
subconsciously, we start to work towards that. And there was something very interesting. During my journey, I wrote a meditation about the baby, because I couldn't conceive. And in that meditation, at some point, I was breastfeeding the baby. Okay, so I record my own voice, and I was saying, imagine the baby, you're breastfeeding, blah, blah. 2 months later, my doctor called me because they were checking my analysis every month, and he said, good. something is off. Your body is producing prolactin, which is a hormone you produce when you have an actual baby when you breastfeed. He's like, well, whatever you're doing, stop. Because there's no baby now, and he knows that I'm playing with meditations. And he was like, whatever you're doing, change it. Because we don't need it now, you know. Like, but and at that time I was like, the body is amazing. Then I changed, I cut that part of the meditation because you don't need that. It's extra stress for the body because the body is producing that hormone, but there's
Yeah.
no one to take. This
Yeah.
is why our mind is amazing, and it's not just the mind part. Also, if you look a bit more Chinese medicine,
Uh-huh.
if you look at
Yeah.
to that side of the world, they really believe that different emotions are trapped in different parts of the body. For example, resentment
Hmm.
are usually like gallbladder. They call it
Uh-huh.
gallbladder resentment stones. And with everyone I work so far, it's right spot on. Their issues related to their emotions are right spot on. So this is a topic that I really, really love
Can you give us an
Yeah, and it's
example
like,
of that? Yeah.
about the emotions.
Yes, yes, and how it's part of your body.
Yeah, yeah. For example, anxiety, for example, when you're
Uh-huh.
too anxious, it's believed that it's stored in stomach or spleen. And when
Uh-huh.
you look at in corporate life, people who are dealing with very high level of anxiety, they all have problems in that area, right?
Uh-huh.
Problems related to their stomach. Or, for example, shame is an emotion that is believed to be stored in either sexual organs or glands. And when you look at the woman who've been through abuse, they usually they carry the shame in their sexual organs, so it's harder for them to create something, or it's harder for them to conceive sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Or, for
yeah.
example, the things that we cannot say because we feel either humiliated, we feel shame, they go to our glands. Then we have thyroid disease. I work with a lot of people on thyroid disease, and it's usually the things that they couldn't say. Most of the time, when they say it, not necessarily to that person, but in a session setting where they think that person is in front of them and they really say what they need to say, and then they write a letter about it, we see a huge, huge decline in their hormones, in a good way, in their disease, actually.
Yeah.
So those are the most, one thing that I had three times, my knee. Three times I was like, okay, you have a new problem, you need to get surgery. And it always happened when I was scared to make a move. So
Okay.
now I train my knee, like, okay,
Wow.
we're not scared, we can move, don't
Wow.
worry. We have the ability to move because you have this resistance. When you're scared to move, then you think that you have a knee problem. But again, always go to your doctor. So it's always together, because sometimes people think that. I also see this approach a lot, and it makes me really, because when these are usually help you before you get the disease when they are, but when you are in the disease, when you actively
Yeah.
have it, you need to do mind,
Mhm.
body, and work, mind, body, and soul. So this will help you on the mind level. But you also need to help the body level, which is what the normal medicine will give you. So I always say combine those techniques.
So it sounds like the way you're describing it is that maybe this is a Western medicine description of what it is like when you keep your emotions inside, um, they can fester in your organs in a physiological sense.
Yeah,
Um, like for the example, like the examples you gave with people in the corporate life, they tend to have more pain in their gut,
yeah,
and people who are having shame, they feel it in like their genital organs. Maybe that can also come from like people who, I mean, you can probably just feel it when it happens. Like for example, when you were describing, you're saying like people feel that pain in those certain organs. Like you can say it's like, oh, I'm feeling pain in my abdomen or in my shoulder or something like that. Um, like it has this physiological effect on you, and you don't feel whole, I would say.
yeah,
But when you do talk about your emotions, um, I feel like that helps alleviate the
exactly.
pain that you could feel on your body. Now, now that I'm saying this, I doesn't mean it's like 100% correct because there are obviously different ways for it to actually heal, like for you to heal yourself. Like you were saying, you should go to see your doctors. Definitely, highly recommend that. Um, but does talking about your emotions as well help alleviate all of these different pains that you were talking about?
Exactly, exactly. And it's kind of preventative, right? Because when you have this thing and you let it sing and you just act like it didn't happen, but trauma happens. If it happened, it happened. There is nothing you can do about it. Like, you can act like it didn't happen, but the earlier you just look at it, you talk about it, and you just let it go instead of
Mm.
carrying you over the years, it's easier. And what I noticed with my clients over 40, and with my clients that are really young, like 20 years old, there's a huge difference, like unbelievable. And because I'm coming from, the data oriented background, I always keep the data. So what's amazing is that when they're younger, for them doing forgiveness work and etc. is super easy. Like in 15 minutes in the session, boom, done, they understand and they're ready to move on. But with people close to my age and above, it takes, let's say, 45 minutes because you've been holding and holding and holding it for all those
Yeah,
years. So this is also
Yeah,
amazing. The earlier I think we start, I really wish I knew these techniques when I was younger. This is why I'm actually doing this work. I go to corporates, I try to say these things because with very basic tools, very basic activities, you can really let go of the drama that you're carrying for years and years and years because past is past, right? There's nothing you can do.
yeah,
Ignoring is also not okay because you've been through that pain, you have the pain.
I agree.
So you just need to look through it. And for the body relation, there's a really good book that I can recommend. Louise
Yes.
Hay has a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And at the end of this book, she explains different kind of affirmations for different kind of pain points. For example, if you have neck pain, if you have acne, and etc. It's a very basic one, but it's a really good start if you're interested in this topic.
definitely. And since we're talking about the corporate world, what if you could start like a mental rebellion in society, what radical change would you make in the corporate world?
Ooh, this is a hard one. So in the corporate world, I think what I had a chance to do while I was working there, because while I was working back in corporate, COVID happened. And, the houses are very small. Everybody was stuck in the houses with
Uh-huh.
kids, with, cooking
Yeah.
3 times a day and etc., doing the cleaning. So it was a nightmare. You were also working at that time. And actually, that time, this project came to me through my manager. He said, "Gül, we know you have this business aside, create something for people to let go of the stress, like create a monthly series or something where you can really help people to let go of this stress of COVID." And it was the first time I started doing mindfulness workshop. I was so happy because I can drop the projects that I don't like and I can start this one. And that time, I really wanted to focus on the basics. So I think in corporate world, if employees have time to do the basics, which are very easy, which we all know but we don't know, like meditating 10 minutes, journaling 10 minutes,
Hmm.
when you have a struggle with someone, instead of letting it to consume both of you, doing a forgiveness to each other for 10 minutes. So I would
Yeah.
really, really like to, if I had the chance, I would set the basics, part of
Yeah.
onboarding, part of a training. Yeah, okay, when you work with us, there are all the onboarding programs. We also want to give you this onboarding program. This is when you're highly stressed. This is what you can do when you fight with your colleague. This is what you can do when you want to ground and center yourself, so that
Hmm.
at least employees can reach out to this toolbox. In the end, they will choose to use or not. You cannot mandate people. But I think if corporate gives such a room to people, such resources, people would try more. And it can
Yeah.
really, really affect the daily stress, the daily grounding. It can really affect all the unnecessary struggles we carry at the workplace.
Totally.
Completely agree. And so, but there's still that group of people from like in society who when they hear the word like, you know, mindfulness,
Yeah,
manifestation, um, when they
meditation.
hear those words, they go back to like the it's like old school mentality, and they're just their response is, what is all that bullshit, you know?
Yeah,
And obviously they're just hating on the whole concept, and they haven't maybe read on it, and they don't have any information on it. So what would your response be to them? How would you persuade them to follow these steps, to learn more about it, and to actually try
Yeah.
it because
To be
they exist in the corporate world.
Yeah, I wouldn't persuade them because this should be something that is there for you. You can use it if you need it. You don't need to use it. Because when you
Yeah.
push people, it may be your way of getting rid of stress is playing basketball with your friends and it works for you. Then why would you change your routine if this one is already working? Because there is not one way,
Mm,
right? There are a lot of ways. Maybe you don't want to do meditation, but you want to do the breath work and you try and it helps for you. Then why do you need that? I think this should be some kind of a thing where people are looking for actively. But in my experience, the people who are non-believers came to me, including those football players I work. Believe me, it's very hard to work with a national team when half of the team is looking at you like, "Who is she? Why do we have to do that? Can I not participate?" And you are there. Okay, close your eyes now for me. It is really hard and doing it to set of people who are voluntarily, coming there.
yeah.
So usually in my experience or those people I work with, like I work with some C-level people, they all come to me through reference. Because the referral person tells them, look, this can help you. When they see that it's working, then they will have more motivation instead of forcing those who doesn't believe. If you reach out to people who believes, their change, their transformation will ignite them. Actually, they will say, you know what, I'm going through something similar. It worked for him, why it wouldn't work for me? It worked for her, why it can work for me? I really like the Kobe Bryant has a story on it. May he rest in peace. He was saying he started mindfulness and meditation when he was playing, and it was mandatory for them. So their coach said, "It's mandatory. Everybody sits. You're going to do a meditation." So what
Hmm.
he said, for the first time, something that I'm deeply passionate, basketball. Like this is what I breathe. This is what I care, and a tool that can give me to be more successful in this one, my basketball career. Why not give it a try?
Uh-huh.
I said, okay,
Yeah.
because if he can help me to achieve, to be better, even 2 to 3%, then I'm all in it. So I think we don't need to persuade, but we can show these inspiration stories and people needs to first try because it's like swimming in the ocean. I don't know if you ever swim in the ocean. So I'm from Turkey. We don't have ocean. We have sea. Okay.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
first time I went to Rio, it was a very hot day and I'm a good swimmer. And I said, I can get in the water and swim. And even though people were saying it's not a sea, be careful, blah, blah, I said, it's in the end, it's water. I still remember that day. I get in, thanks to I just get in through my knees, not even get in. And then the
Yeah.
waves pulled me, and I don't know how I get out, you know? And after that, I never swim in the ocean. It's not for me. I'm really not trained for it. So meditation or this kind of tools like journaling, books, like breathing exercise are the same unless you try it yourself. It's just a
Yeah.
theory. You don't know how it feels. So why not to try it? If you're willing to do it, just give it a try. And after you try, if you see results, then you will want to explore more. And I always say, if you don't see results, change what you're doing. Probably it's not good for you. There are many other tools in terms of healing and mindfulness. There's not just one tool. You can just change and try the next one. But these tools needs to help you shift things rather than just feeling good. Like they really need to give you some tangible results in your life. Maybe you sleep better. Maybe you get a promotion. Maybe everybody around you says you're a calmer person. Usually, I get a lot of emails from the wives of my clients. The wives secretly send me emails saying that thank you so much. My husband is calmer, nicer. I know, okay, the sessions are really working. If a wife takes time to secretly say thank you, whatever you're doing, please go on.
Totally.
Yeah. Getting the review from the wife is always a bonus from
Yeah,
them.
wife and mother. It's working.
um,
Ali, you were saying.
yes, I was gonna say, how much time do you think people need to spend doing these kinds of mindfulness practices? Let's say per day or before a big event. How much time
Um,
do you think?
so it really depends. So I wouldn't say do it daily because I think when we try to do something daily, it puts a lot of stress on us.
Uh
So
huh.
I always say 80% done is done. It's like the business. If 80% is done, you launch your product, right?
Uh-huh.
If 80% of security, you go for it. So
Oh
I
wow.
think these practices are the same. So you don't need to necessarily, if you can do it every day, perfect. But some days are very hard. Some days we have a lot of things to do. I always say if you can just spend something between 10 to 30 minutes a day, depending on your day, maybe the day is so busy, you just do 5 minutes meditation to ground yourself and you're done. But if you have something big, maybe you have a board presentation or you have an interview or you have a game that day, it is better to spend something between 20 to 30 minutes before that thing. So you really set yourself. But it wouldn't take more than, I think, between 10 to 30 minutes and not even every day.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's not that hard actually.
I think the self awareness is so important, and I think it's important because people go through burnout a lot in work, in the office world, and just in general, everyone on their jobs. And I
Yeah.
think if you're able to be self aware that hey, I need a break, or hey, I'm actually feeling great, I can do more work. Knowing, being mindful is super important. Um, yes, can you tell us a bit about what that's like for you being pregnant and everything too? Like knowing, being mindful, knowing when to work, when to take a break. What's that like?
Yeah, yeah. So I think when you're pregnant, everybody, I think all women goes through it. You're a bit more intuitive because I think the nature is telling you to really watch out to protect the baby.
Yeah.
So your intuition is almost like doubled. And this is what my old clients say. For me, my luck is as intuition a big part of my sessions, what I do in order to earn my life. So I was able to channel it through my work a bit better. So really it helped me to kind of bend time because the issues that we tackled in, let's say 90 minutes, we could tackle in 45 minutes because I was, I was I was like, okay, this is a temporary process, but let's use it.
Superpower.
This
Uh-huh.
was one thing. The second thing I think this pregnancy really teach me because I'm also a A-type personality. I really like to achieve things. I'm obsessed about my business.
Uh-huh.
But it taught me, life has seasons. You have to accept it. When you're that big, you need to give up on some things because you need to rest. You need to take your time. So I think it really taught me to accept the life has seasons rather than always trying to do something. Okay, in this season, it's a season for us to nest. It's a season for us to rest a bit. But when I was feeling good, that day I woke up, I'm like, okay, today is all do. Like get done all the to-do list because you have extra energy today. So it really taught me, balancing my day a bit more seasonality. And as my husband say, I don't know, I always thought I was such a person, but he says to me that you are very calm recently, and you don't create big deal out of the normal issues. And what I realize, so he's more happy because we fight less. What I realize when you have something so major in your life,
Uh-huh.
you really pick up the fights of life. Like you really want to focus on what's really important because you have limited time, limited resources. And I realized the things that I was making a big, issue in my life, like, yeah, whatever. I cannot I don't care about them, not now. And then when he gave me this feedback, instead of being angry at him, I really received it. Oh, okay. Then how can I channel it to my business? Then I just focus on what I really need to do rather than,
Hmm.
okay, what is nice for me to do. So I think it kind of gives you to choose the battles that you have. Because
Yeah.
it's life, right? We always have things that we need to do. It helped me from that perspective as well.
Sounds
um,
like you're very well in tune with your emotions and you're very in control of them. Um, is your husband the same, or is
No,
he like he's the opposite?
he's like when the client comes to me and say, please don't get me wrong. I come because my reference told me you can do these things, but I don't believe. I'm like, I have one at home. Don't worry. No, we're totally different. He's so much on left brain. For him, everything is science. When I say let's do a prayer or let's lead it to angels, so don't worry, it will happen. He's like, what are you talking about? Or when I'm talking about manifestation. But what is interesting is as he's witnessing my story and my clients, he's amazed
Hmm.
by how these things work. Like he's still amazed by how these things works, but he's not ready to really try them. He only comes and tries them when he's really deep, when he's really desperate. then he tries a bit, and when he gets there, he drops them immediately. And this is why we're all different, right? You don't need to persuade someone. And
Yeah.
one thing I learned in marriage is a tip to everyone: if you're doing what I do, you're not the healer or the coach of your partner. You're just the partner. It's not your job to heal them,
Yeah.
to help them. Your job is very different there in terms of relationship, because then the relationship goes somewhere really different. So we are very different. So this is what we were making fun. Maybe one day our child is gonna say, "I was raised by a mother who really believes in universe and manifest and angels, all these things, and father who's just, for him it's black and white." And but life is good with all the differences. It's
I think
important
that's
that
a
we
very
give each other space.
yes, that's very important. And also another important term that definition that you used was you're not supposed to be the healer, or like you're not supposed to have a role for for yourself as with your partner. You're just supposed to be their partner.
Exactly.
Just support them with their own decisions. Like you don't have to like tinker or play around with who they are. Either accept them for who they are, or you know, maybe you guys aren't meant for each other. And I
Exactly.
think people maybe do struggle with that idea because they play that role in their everyday life because that's what they're used to from when like from the way they were raised. That's the role they took on growing up, and they just take that with them into their relationships, and it could possibly put them in situations where they're in relationships that are not suitable for them or not a good match for them. And this can be
Exactly.
obviously with your partner or with friends as well.
Exactly. And I see a lot with my clients that sometimes they really wanna help and save their parents as well. We can't. Like, I wish we could, but it's a really big ego
Mm.
to say you can really change. People only change when they want to change. Maybe they don't want to change and they're okay with it. Not everybody wants to look at their childhood traumas and be unstuck. Some people are very happy the way they are. So it's not for
Yeah.
everyone. And I think when you want to take this role, this is when I see, because when my clients start these things, their life goes in a different way, right? And they really want to immediately bring it to family. And I always say, like, don't force the family, because maybe they don't want it. Maybe they're not ready, because then you hold the resentments, because you're like, I'm telling you all these books, I'm telling you what to do, why you don't do it. They're just not ready. Maybe it's not in
Yeah.
their journey. So it's really, really important to take a step back, actually, but with giving space to each other. This is what, like, I give space to him, he gives space to me, especially in the fertility journey. When I said I'm going to take 1 year to try, he was like, you have to accept the science. Like, you can't. It's like your eyes are, you cannot see, you use the glasses, it's like this, black and white. And it's the first time I said, no, I'm going to walk the walk, talk the talk. I can rewire my brain, I can rewire my hormones, I'm going to give myself. And then we made a deal that I was gonna try it for a year, because he said,
Yeah.
I also don't want to get, I don't want you to get lost in that, but let's put a time frame. And thanks God, in the 9 month, the 9 month, my results changed, so I could get pregnant, because I had only 3 months left to do the work. But it's also nice to speak your truth, but also understand their truth as well.
Mhm. Ali,
Wow, what a
you
great
were.
story. Yeah, no, that's I think a lot of times people look at things through just one lens, the science lens, and I think just also because people don't aren't educated, people or they just don't know about the power of the mind, the power of um like even healing your body through the mind. It's such a powerful thing, and I think at least in our culture, me inside in Lebanon, a lot of people suppress their emotions and completely turn the opposite direction. You know, they don't try to be intuitive or mindful or try to
Hmm.
think about their life. It's the opposite. They try to suppress their emotions and it comes out as anger, a lot of times. So, if anything, your work's so important. And I think more people need to learn about this, have conversations about this, and um, I think it can heal a lot of people.
Exactly. And I think up until COVID, we were not very vocal about it because I really
Yeah.
don't remember. I never seen a company who were doing this type of workshops before, right? At least none of the companies I work with. I think it all started with COVID. For the first time, we just realized, okay, mental health can be a serious issue because before it was a topic that we talked, but it was a lot of with embarrassment, right? You were hiding. When you look at most
Hmm.
of the athletes who were doing meditation, etc., they're all speaking last 3 to 5 years. Before that, most people were keeping it confidential, or most
Wow.
CEOs were keeping it confidential. I also kept my business confidential for a good couple of years because I was like, oh my God, I get all this education, I have all these trainings, all this career. How am I going to tell the people that I'm doing it? I was hiding it. This is when I had a thyroid problem. I really needed to speak to my parents to let it go. And my father's first question was like, is it something related to religion? Is it a part of a cult? Don't do these things. I'm like, no, no. It's all about mind, mindfulness, all these things. So these are very, very, now they're popular, but from with a very small community actually. When you look at the older community, these things, and
Hmm.
also what I see, there is also a lot of wrong information on the internet.
Hmm.
Like, do this and you become a millionaire. Like, do this and you're money. I'm like, seriously? You really need to check. I always say, everyone, please check the testimonials of the people that you work with, that you trust. Because most people, they learn one concept. They never tested it on themselves or on others. Then they're trying to teach you this concept, and you do it and you realize that it doesn't happen. And you think there's something wrong with you. It's actually there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you didn't check their story. It also didn't do the same effect to them. They're just because in these days you can put three things in Chat GPT and it can boom prepare you everything that you need to say. So I always say, people, please check if those people are walking the walk, talking the talk. Really check their references. When you check people's website, if you copy the names, you can see if they're real people or not. When you go to Google, you see their LinkedIn profile and etc. So that you don't feel that something is wrong with you, because it's also a big problem in this industry. I think this is why more people are skeptical about it.
Wow. And I had one follow up question on that about your manifestations and um, should you talk about them? Should you share them? You know, the things you want in your life, or is that something that's private and personal? What are
So
your thoughts
again,
on that?
it depends on your limiting beliefs. So if you're coming from my culture, there's the culture of evil eye. Okay,
Yeah.
it's rooted in the culture. Evil eye meaning that if you really want something, if good happens to you, if people will look at you with the evil eye and you will pay the consequences. So it happened to me a lot because it's a huge part of my culture, and I had beliefs about that. It's like I would say, oh, okay, I
Mm.
shouldn't say because I will get the evil eye and etc. And somehow I was always getting it. When I worked on my beliefs and I just rewired them to say that I'm always protected, there are people are looking me with good eyes, I start to not have those problems. I have some
Yeah.
clients, they don't have any belief around evil eye, and when they share their manifestation, they believe it even more. They
Mm,
get the support from people around them, and it really helps them. So, in
Yeah.
order for manifestation, I think the most important things are limiting beliefs, which is our limiting stories, the stories that we believe from our childhood, because this is the one that's blocking the manifestation. For example, you really want this promotion, but deep down you believe that if you get a promotion, you will not have time for your family. So you're
mm,
blocking it. You really want this baby, but deep down you believe that if I have the baby, I can never build my business. So this is what we call the limiting beliefs. And if you have limiting beliefs around what happens when you say to people, then you're going to attract them because we attract what we believe. So this is I always say one big part of manifestation. We set the desire and action, and in the middle you do the belief
Mm.
work, what you really believe. Because even though you say you want it, your fears can stop it from happening. So this is why if you are because the more you share, the more you believe it is actually good. But depending on your culture, if you strongly believe if you say this thing, something bad will
I don't.
happen.
I don't believe in the
No,
evil
but
eye. I haven't gone through that,
we,
but I don't know about you, Saeed. I've
I
definitely
mean,
heard of it.
it is rooted in our culture, and my family definitely have mentioned it quite a lot. For example, if there's always like a new thing that's going to happen in our lives, or like something different, or some new change is going to happen in our life, my parents always say, like, don't tell anyone about it. Just keep it to yourself, keep it for us. It's like, don't tell anyone. And like this obviously implemented some sort of a belief in me that I shouldn't talk about things to people, but at the same time, like I have conflicting beliefs on this topic. So this is why I actually wanted to. I have a follow-up question on this topic. So I have a conflicted belief sometimes on certain um, timelines in my life where I think about it like I maybe I overthink even about whether I should share my manifestations or I should not, or should I keep them away because of evil eye. So what are like three tips to kind of, for example, the rewiring that you talked about? What are three tips that you would share to rewire our beliefs so that we can select a belief system that we want?
Yeah, yeah. So this is for if you want to do it yourself, right? Because you can always work
Hmm.
with someone and help. But if you want to do it yourself, I would say if you're more on the left brain that you understand with writing and etc., there's a really good book. Today I'm dropping some books. I hope we can
That's
add them
good.
to show notes. It's from Bryant Katie. It's Loving What It Is. And in this book, she shares a very basic four question technique where
Hmm.
you answer those questions. And as you answer those questions, you're actually seeing what is the reality and you rewire those beliefs. So it's called
Yeah.
Brian Katie's Four Questions, the work. Even if you Google
Hmm.
it, you can find it. If you like, you can read the book as well. So this is a kind of self-talk that you do with your mind. Is this really true? The first question. Is this really true when you share what you want to do? Everybody will be jealous of you and they will give. Then you start answering. Yes, it's true because this is what mom told me and this happened in the past before, right? You write to yourself. Then the second questions is the first one, is this true? The second one, is this really true? I change it a bit more, like, is it God's truth? Is it really coming from from the above, that this is the
Hmm.
only truth, there is the evil eye and the rest you will burn? Then you start to come to a little bit sense because it helps you to see the other perspectives. Then you write about,
Yeah.
of course, it's not coming from God because this person shares and they always have what they want to manifest. In the past it happened, blah blah. So it really helps you to see the perspective. Then you go to the third question. How do you feel when you're in that thought? I feel really small. I cannot share the things that I want to share. So it really helps you to deep dive by yourself like you're in a therapy session. And the last question helps you to get out of from that state. This is one thing you can do. The second thing, what I always like to do is go to that moment. You go to that moment for once, and it doesn't need to be a trauma. Either you do it with a meditation, or you do it with someone, or you do it to yourself. So you find that memory in your inner child where you believe in that thing, and you talk to that version of you to saying time has changed. For example, I had a very strong belief that you need to work hard in order to make money. So
Hmm.
but my sessions need to flow. When I try to work hard, I even block the system. They need to flow. Maybe sometimes with one question, everything just goes right. So I really needed to go to that girl and say why she has this belief. And then I remember it was my mom who was always saying this. You need to work hard. If you want to, you need to work hard. It's actually not my beliefs, it's my mom's, but this is how I grow up. Then I talked to that little girl saying that it's okay, it helped you, because those limiting stories which we blame our parents, it also helps us to become who we are. So the idea here is not just to blame and let go. The idea is to understand, look, it made you really hardworking. It gave you all this beautiful career. It made you hardworking. It made you this and this. But as of now, it's draining. So why don't we make a pact and we let go? Because now we know the other one is also possible. And don't worry, if you need the hard work, you have it. So you kind of convince your inner self when the trauma happens. Is
Hmm.
it is it too much? Are you with me, guys? Yeah.
It is, yeah, it was a bit much. Maybe like the last two sentences, if you can repeat that point, it will help me understand a bit more.
So with limiting beliefs or these
Yep.
stories, I always say you need to understand how did they help you? How did they serve you? Because
Yep.
they also helped you in this life. You kept them
Totally.
for a reason. Maybe they
Yeah.
helped you thanks to the belief that you need to have hard work. You went to the top universities and you got a
Hmm.
scholarship, and thanks to the scholarship, you went to US. So it kind of changed your life. So one part
Yeah.
of us needs to understand why we have them. But now it's not helping you anymore because you're drained, you're working a lot, and you don't want to live like that anymore because you already cracked the code. So it's really
Yeah.
important to talk to your inner child or inner self to understand, okay, we have this is how we helped, because it's not to blame your mother or father. It's just, but as of now, let's make a conscious decision to believe that you can work normally and you can have all the abundance that you want. So this is where you do
Hmm.
the therapy actually. You make a peace with what happened, you understand the lesson so that you can move on, so that you can forgive. Because we
Hmm.
usually don't forgive when we don't understand what was in it for us. Why? Because otherwise you hold the grudge, you don't want to forgive. This is another thing you can actually do by yourself.
Yeah. I
And
feel like the, oh, sorry, didn't mean to
no, no,
interrupt.
go please.
I was just gonna say, I feel like the two belief systems, for me personally, the ones that were conflicting, I think they also had, um, they were directly tied to um, my faith in God, for example. Because when I was younger, I was more of on the track of being an atheist, and now I think I'm more. I do believe in the existence of God, and I have faith in Him. And in certain situations, I have noticed like his direct help maybe in my life. Um, Obviously, people can have different opinions, conflicting opinions about the matter, but I think something that has helped me um, just kind of be present and actually enjoy my life, no matter what's going on, no matter the issues or the problems that I'm facing or whatever obstacles that are um, I'm facing in my life. Um, Having these like both of these belief systems where um, having like just kind of letting go, having faith in God in certain situations, and at the same time, other situations is just persevering and hard work and like putting in the hard work from my side personally. Having these two belief systems kind of has like created a certain level of balance for me. And I think that's something that I have been seeking for a long time. Um, and when because I used to also live in the UK before now being based in Saudi Arabia. When I was in the UK, I was staying by myself a lot. And I think I had a lot of time to kind of think about both of these belief systems. And I know a lot of people do find it maybe a bit hard or weird or difficult to just kind of sit with your own with yourself and like sit with your own thoughts and just understand who you are. Um, but I personally, for me, I found it very beneficial and creating this flow that you talked about um, within my mental state and just and then applying it also at work because I think having that people have different names for it. Obviously, some people call it flow state, some people just call it flow, whatever you want to call it. I think just having that in your life in general um, goes to show like I think like that's something that people should maybe what's the word kind of look try to attain. And if there's something that's not going with that flow, that's not supporting that flow, whether it be your relationship or your job or the environment that you surround yourself is, then you probably have to change something about that. And once
Exactly.
you do, and you find the thing that does support that flow that you're looking for, where you do feel present, happy, comfortable, and just, just everything is like you're having that abundance that we have talked about. I think maybe that's kind of the ultimate goal. At least for me. I don't know if it applies to everyone else, but I think at least for me that's something that is attainable and should be attained within your lifetime.
Exactly. So it was gonna get to my third point is any belief system that you have, and I really work with clients from all over the world. Like some of them believes in destiny, especially from China and etc.
Hmm.
Some of them
Mm,
believes Jesus consciousness. Some of them believes directly the Creator, Allah. Some of them
Hmm.
believes just the nature. It's not what I realize is really not important. But when you have a belief system where you can, sometimes share because no matter what you do about manifestation, right? There is divine timing. Law
Hmm.
of divine
yeah.
timing, right? It's not. It's gonna happen when it needs to happen. You can do whatever you want. It's gonna happen when it needs to happen. It's called the law of divine timing. It's that there are universal laws. That there is law of gestation, meaning that everything is its gestation period. A baby is 9 months. If it comes out at month four, you don't want it, right? It needs to wait. Or when you
Hmm.
put a seed, you need to wait. You don't need to fruit tomorrow, you wait. And it's also life is like that. So
Hmm.
yes, you want this manifestation, but it never happens when you push for it and I want it on my deadline. In the end, there's you do your part, the system does their part. So any kind of belief system where you practice trust and surrender more is in my experience also helps to let go of these beliefs as well, because then you really feel that you're not alone. And it can be maybe nature, you just go and sit in the nature, you feel the same thing, or you do a prayer, you feel the same thing. It's not important. What's important is what you believe. It also really really helps actually.
I think before we finalize and ask our last question, sorry, my last question would be is how do you know, or like what are the, let's call them the symptoms of, for example, divine inter timing. How are you able to maybe notice the symptoms before it happens, or just, or is it just you gotta just let it happen and you don't really have a choice in?
Not always. To be honest, I don't feel always. But for example, when I really wanted, for example, for this baby, I really wanted it for 2 years, right? And
Hmm.
it first year I
Mm,
tried all the things that I know. Then I realized nothing is working for me, so I need to go back to bases and do my own feelings. So do my own healing. But when you really push for it, I think what really helped me there, and what I see in many women, if you're listening to this, going through this IVF treatments, going to this fertility, it's really hard to do the aspect of let go and accept. It's the
mhm,
hardest one. Hardest one is like you do this work, but at the end, you know that you're just a human. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. And you need to make a peace with that. This was, to be honest, the hardest work I did on myself. So rather than I want a baby, look, Creator, God, I want a baby, I want to do my part. But if in this lifetime it's not in my destiny, please then teach me how can I make peace with it? How can I be happy by not being obsessed with it? How can I accept myself as a whole? And actually this was the breaking point for me, to be very honest with you, on this manifestation
mhm.
journey. It was not all the in the actions, it was not on the desire, it's just to be happy with what I have now, because this really eases the energy, and if it's in your destiny it comes to you. And in my experience, sometimes because it's this kind of feeling. And I love the Sufis has a word, if you see it in your mind's eye, it's because it's in your potential, because God never makes fun of you. So for example, when I close my eyes, when I tune in, I don't see myself as the head of United States. Right? It's not in my potential, not in my dream. No matter what I do, I
I
don't see
wish.
it actually, I don't have it. But when I was doing this meditation, I could really feel the baby. I could sense the baby. Or when I do a meditation about, let's say, my clients, I know who's gonna come to me. I can really feel it. So
Mhm.
for all your dreams, you can check if you can really see it. You can feel yourself there. It means it's in your potential. I think it kind of gives you the glimpse of divine timing, but it's something we can never know. I don't think none of us has this ability. Like, you feel it. Sometimes they show you in your dreams, but you can never be precise. It's something, I think, divine timing you understand after. You say that,
Yeah.
it was my divine timing, you understand after.
Yeah, I think before the anything before the actual event of the divine timing, you're just guessing. It's kind of
Exactly.
it's a bit of a gamble in that situation.
Exactly.
Ali.
Yeah, I thought that was a great place to leave off, honestly. Um, Everything is so intuitive, and um, yeah, best of luck with your childbirth, and
Thank you. I need that.
whatever
I need
whatever
all the
comes
prayers.
next. Yes, we send you our blessings.
Um, yes, exactly. Gul, before we sign off, is there how can people connect with you? How can people get in touch with you? Do you like to do a shout out before we end this podcast?
Yeah, so the best way, I use only two types of social media. I just use Instagram and my
Mhm,
LinkedIn. I'm not in the other ones.
Keep it
But
simple.
the best way is that my website is purposefulvibes.com. And I write weekly newsletters. This is how I communicate with people. I write them myself. They're not AI written. You
mhm,
will understand because I write about my journey or what happens in the sessions. And I share a lot of journaling questions or free meditations. We can also gift one under the show notes as well. Free
mhm.
meditations. When I'm inspired with something, I share there. So it's the best way to reach out to me. This is where I share my journey, and from there they can book a call or see. I have a course on manifestation. Actually, it's my favorite topic. From my website, they can find it all.
Well, awesome.
Awesome.
Gul, thank you again for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you.
Good luck again with the birth, and hopefully the child comes up, very healthy and
Yeah,
is obviously filled with healthy manifestations and good habits.
yeah,
Um, guys, thank you again for watching another episode of A to the Show. Um, you know how we sign out. Good, we salute to cover the camera. If you want, you can join us.
yeah.
Guys, peace.
Ooh,
Peace.
yeah.